Hey, what's up YouTube? Jake Blake here. Just going to give you another deck profile on my control-based Maiden with Blue Eyes deck. I'm just going to get right into the deck profile. We run 3 Blue Eyes, or Maiden with Blue Eyes. She's just a really good stall. She's a level 1 tuner, and she brings out your boss monster, which is Blue Eyes White Dragon. Then we run 3 Gravekeeper Spies, and we also run 1 Descendant. He's kind of like your tour guide of the deck. He gets into your rank 4s really easily. He's also a spellcaster type monster, and Gravekeeper just Descendant is really good spot removal. Not too much to say about that. Then we run 3 Mist Valley Falcon. Through playtesting, this card has just become one of the MVPs of the deck, just because he just recycles your Fiendish Chains, your macros, your field spell cards. He recycles your monsters so you can use them again. He's just really good. He's a 2000 beater. He's a recycler. He's just one of the MVPs of the deck. Then we run 2 Kaiku, really control based. He stops your opponent from special summoning chaos monsters. They can't banish any monsters in their graveyard, and if this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can banish 2 monsters in their graveyard. So he's just really good, and he's also a spellcaster type monster. Then we're running 2 Breaker. Just spot removal, just gets rid of their back row, and Mist Valley Falcon can really just recycle this card, and you can summon it again and pop another one of their cards, one of their back row. So he's really good, and he becomes a 1900 beater, and he's also a spellcaster. Then for the boss monsters, we run 2 Blue Eyes. 2 is good, 3 is cloggy in my taste, and also 2 is just necessary because you can special summon him from the graveyard. So he's just not much to say about that, is Blue Eyes. And then for probably one of the other MVPs of the deck, we run 2 Lava Golem. He's also a trade-in target, just in case he's dead. But you run a lot of stall cards in this deck, so you burn your opponent out pretty fast. And also, the reason why this card is just so good is because he can get over their Boojins. You can tribute their Boojin monsters. You can tribute their Xyz monsters, their Synchros, their Xians, all that. You just get rid of that, and then they just take a 3000 beater that you can stall with. So he's just really good. Onto the spells, we run 2 Secret Village of the Spellcaster. Basically, this effect is, as long as you control a spellcaster type monster and your opponent does not, they can't activate spells. So essentially what you can do is you can lock your opponent out of using spell cards, and they can't dark hole your field, they can't MST your back row, they can't really do anything with spells as long as they don't control a spellcaster type monster. So it really just wrecks Boojins, wrecks Fire Fists, just wrecks the meta. Sometimes this card can be dead because if they bottomless your spellcasters, or they run them over next turn or something like that, you can lock yourself out of using spells. But that's why I kind of run Mist Valley Falcon, because you can just return this back to the hand, and eventually when you draw another spellcaster, you can just activate this after you summon that spellcaster. So it's just really good. Mist Valley Falcon is just a really broken card. But that's it. Then we run 2 Mystical Space Typhoon, just more back row removal. To make the deck a little more consistent, we run 2 Pot of Duality. It just makes your deck more consistent. I've been just testing this out, but I run 2 Forbidden Dress over Lance, just because a lot of decks that I run, or that I go against at the locals, they like to Black Rose my field a lot. And one of the things that I've noticed is that you kind of work hard to get out your boss monsters sometimes, not necessarily Blue Eyes, but your Synchros and Xyz, and you just kind of want to protect them from monster effects also. And Lance can't really protect your monsters from Black Rose, but Forbidden Dress can. So when your opponent tries to Black Rose you, you just chain dress to one of your monsters. They lost their field, you lost your field, but you also got to keep one of your strong beaters. So it's just really good, and it also can target Maiden to get out your Blue Eyes. So I'm just play testing it, just personal preference. Then for the 1-ofs, we run 1 D-Fissure. It doesn't hurt your deck at all. The only thing it might hurt is trade-ins with Blue Eyes, but if you have Falcon on the field, you can choose when to activate it, but you can just return it to your hand, then activate trade-in, get your Blue Eyes into the graveyard, and then just or activate it again. So that's another thing that Falcon can do. And it just, it just stops your opponent, So it's just, this deck is really fun to play. One Book of Moon and then one Dark Hole. Self-explanatory. Onto the traps, we run 2 Fiendish Chain. Really, really, really broken in this deck. Falcon can just bring them back to the hand, so monster effects just really aren't a problem against this deck. You just recycle them. Stops attack, stops monster effects, just really good. 2 Mirror Force, self-explanatory. 2 Scrap Iron Scarecrow, another MVP of the deck. It's just, when you give your opponent Lava Golem, you can just stall with this card. You can just set it and reactivate it and just negate the attack. So it's just really good. I just run 2. 3 is just way too much. But, they can't really pop it because you have Secret Village of the Spellcaster, so it's just not a problem. For the 1-ofs, we run 1 Torrential, 1 Macrocosmos. Again, like I said, you can just reactivate it with Falcon, so it doesn't really hurt your deck. It hurts opponents' decks. Fire Fists can't activate their spell cards because they have to send it to the grave as a cost. So Macro is just really good. 1 Compulse, self-explanatory, and then 1 of the remaining Solemn Mornings. So really good. I always manage to just draw this card first turn, so it's awesome. So onto the side deck, we run, or extra deck, my bad. We run 1 Azure Eyes, because I only have 1, but you don't necessarily always want to make this just because you want to keep your spellcasters on the field. But if not, and you want to go for big pushes, you just special summon your dragons from the grave. They're unaffected by card effects the turn you special summon this card. So he's just really good, 3,000 defense beater, and yeah, so... Then we run 1 TJ Hyper Librarian, not hard to make. He's also a spellcaster type monster, and you can synchro a lot in this deck. 1 Cataster, self-explanatory. 1 Stardust Dragon, just because in my... I forgot to show you my side deck, but I'll show you my side deck. You can't make it with the deck that I have right now, but if you side in some cards, you can make your your level 8s. 1 Angel of Zera, because you run Macro and D-Fissure. He just comes back. And he also gets stronger, depending on how many monsters are banished from your opponent's graveyard, just in general, which Kaiku also helps to do. 1 Scrap Dragon, 1 Dark End Dragon, because he's like your Black Ship of Corn for synchros, and Scrap Dragon self-explanatory. If you get these 2 on the field, Scrap Dragon and Angel of Zera on the field, you just have a continuous pop. For the Exceeds, we run 166 Master Key Beetle. Really good, protects your macros, protects your field spells, can protect your monsters. Then we run 1 Lightning Chidori because you run 3 Mist Valley Falcons. It's just funny to get this card off and just put cards on the top and the bottom of their decks. It's just funny. 1 Maystroke, 1 Gaga Cowboy, 1 Slacker Magician because you run the Maidens, and sometimes you just want more defense. And she's also stops herself from being targeted and just negates it. Then 1 Black Ship of Corn, and another MVP of the deck, 104 Masquerade. So good. A lot of times you don't want to really mill your opponent out because they rely on the graveyard, but if you have Macro D-Fissure out on the field, it's just not a problem at all. And also he negates monster effects during the battle phase, and you can detach and burn him for 800. So he's really good, 2700 attacker. And also he requires 3 level 4s, which is why I put in Spy, because he's just really good. He's a spellcaster, and if you get this card out, as well as the field spell, they have a problem. Now onto the side deck. This is kind of just... all over the place, just for kind of like weak matchups that you might have. You don't really get weak matches that often just because this deck kind of cancels out your opponent's cards. But occasionally you will run into cards that you might want to just have less of a problem with so it doesn't hurt to side. But we run 2 Trap Eater. He's a level 4 tuner, and if you don't know what his effect is, you can send 1 face-up trap card your opponent controls to the graveyard to special summon this card. So if they have like a Royal Decree, and you just kind of want to negate your golems attacks, or they have like a skill drain, or just any other face-up trap you can send to the graveyard and special summon this and make your rank 4s or, you know, level 8 synchros next turn, or your turn. And yeah, so then we run one Chaos Sorcerer just in case like macro doesn't hurt your opponent's deck too much. You can just side it out, and then you can just put in Sorcerer. Is also a Spellcaster type monster. One Malefic Stardust Dragon just because I run another trade-in in my side deck, and it doesn't hurt because you just run field spells. One Thunder King just because Boojins, they search a lot, you know, and just Fire Kings search, all kinds of decks search nowadays. They special summon, oh my gosh, so much, and he just, you know, helps as a side deck card. I don't put it in my deck just because you do run, you know, Pot of Dualities and stuff like that, but you want to keep it mostly Spellcaster type monsters. Then two trade-ins. This is actually supposed to be in the deck right now. Two Ivy Shackles. It makes all your opponent's cards plant monsters. I usually side this in when I'm going against like mirror match Spellcaster decks. It makes your opponent's monsters plants, so the field spell card can work a lot. Also, if this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you get to draw one card, so it's good draw power. Then for the rest of the deck, I run one Mystical Space Typhoon, the third, and one Forbidden Lance, just in case, you know, they don't Black Rose me to death, or I find that Forbidden Dress just doesn't work out for me. But yeah, that's been the deck profile. Comment, rate, and subscribe. Tell me what your opinion is, and what cards you might think that would run better in this deck. But this is Jake Blake signing out.